BS-Free Witchcraft is a production of the Nerd and Tie Podcast Network. Nerd and Tie produces podcasts ranging from actual play to true crime, and you can find more at nerdandtie.com or join our Discord by going to nerdandtie.com/Discord. Welcome to BS-Free Witchcraft, your monthly guide to the modern witchcraft movement. Mine's a lot of the usual, bullshit. I'm your host, Trae Dorn, and it is October. And, last year we took a year off of doing a spooky episode, but I decided doing other things is too much work, and I like doing the spooky episodes, so we're going to do a spooky episode this year. Sort of. We're going to try to do a spooky episode. As you know, if you've watched these before, I always record the intros and outros after I do the actual, interview. And this month I have Lozzie Stardust on the show, who you may know from multiple episodes of X Positive, and she's been on the show once before. A couple years ago we had her she was on the Modern Witchcraft History episode, because that was really a Crit WitchCon panel that she was also on with myself and several other people. And so this whole thing goes off the rails real fast. Just right out there. And so with that in mind, enjoy whatever this is for the next hour and 50 minutes. It's pretty great. So yeah, we're going to talk about some spooky stuff. We're going to talk about cryptids. We're going to it's going to be two witches just having a good time. So if you want to relax and listen to two witches having a good time, this is the episode for you. So welcome to this year's Let's Get Spooky Ish. Hi, Lozzie.
Hello. Lovely to meet you. Hello. How's it going?
This is the second time you've been on the show, so this is not you meeting me. This is second time.
It's my first time solo. There we go.
First time solo. Yeah, it was a big group last time. Because the last time you were on the show, for listeners who don't remember, it was actually technically a Crit WitchCon panel. The history of the modern witchcraft movement, I think is I don't remember. It's 2 years, 2 or 3. What year was that? I didn't do
a year.
No,
a year.
No, it was more than a year ago, because I didn't do Crit WitchCon that year either. It was 2 years ago. 2 years ago.
Oh, how dare time move in a linear fashion?
Yeah, no, it was
rude.
So, as I probably said, here's the thing. So I talk in the outro. I do the recording of the outros. I'm going to do that in 2 weeks. So,
yep.
I don't know what I said this episode is about, because this is what we're going to try to talk about, spooky stuff. But I'm just going to tell you, people, there are no rails to any of these, because, frankly, we've been very serious on the show lately, and I think that laughing at ourselves is also good. So who knows where this is going to go? Hopefully less chaotically than the episode I did on Bree's podcast.
I make no promises about that. It's me as well. It's just do not bring the ADHD goose to and expect any sort of rail.
So in theory, what we're talking about here this month is spooky stuff. Spooky stuff, because it's October. We skipped doing a spooky stuff episode last year, but I wasn't feeling creative this year. I mean, actually last year I think we were supposed to do the Hocus Pocus episode, and then that got delayed because of scheduling stuff. So we were supposed to be more Halloween themed last year, but I wasn't. Because life, but this year we are back to it, and Lozzie is notable as probably one of the few witches I have ever met who has never seen a ghost. So, what better a guest? So, what's it like, Lozzie, being one of the only witches out there that I've ever met who hasn't seen a ghost?
Peaceful. Demure. No, I was just about to say.
This is coming out in late October. No one's going to remember Mindful and Demure.
Oh God, I'm just absolutely aging myself. I know a new meme. I'm down with the hip kids.
Well, that's the problem. Is meme culture moves so fast these days. It used to be, you could be say, Mr. T ate my balls for 6 years, and people would know what you're talking about. Nowadays, meme hits the culture, and it's gone before the quarter ends.
They used to be able to say badger mushroom, and it used to be like
Right.
international lines, and it would, for years, it would span.
You could
Be like a call.
people would still be finding out about that like 2 years after it was created. Like all your
Yep.
base, man. Like it's memes lasted years back then because it took
Yep.
so much work to make them. God damn it!
Yep.
Back in my day, we worked hard.
We memed properly.
That's it. When I die, I'm gonna haunt meme makers of the future day, and I'm just gonna go. You know, in my day, we just took the O'Reilly owl and just posted it in every forum post for like 8 years.
I remember when we used to make things on Flash.
They would take a picture of a cat.
And you'd put something on it.
And you would purposely misspell it. And use poor grammar.
And you would maybe ask it if it would like a cheeseburger.
Yes. Okay. So this one takes some explaining. There were these things called motivational posters, which had a very specific visual format, and we would take any funny image we could think of, put it into that format, and pretend it was our own joke, and we called it a demotivational.
Oh man.
There were these things called rage comics.
Oh gosh.
I hated rage comics so much.
We should just rebrand this episode.
This is my
Trae and Lozzie go way back.
All right, well, we're all going to be dead someday.
Yep.
It's so like here's my problem with rage comics. This is really my problem with rage comics. And this is for younger people who don't know. Rage comics were these poorly drawn templates, but like they were like drawn in like MS Paint, and like it would always be like the same images like cut and paste into all of them. My problem with rage comics was just that like it would take less effort to just draw your own shitty thing in MS Paint. So why not just do that? Like that was the only reason why they bothered me. Was that you could just do that yourself, but do something different. And I know that I understand that the appeal is to use the template for some of these people, but I'm just like, that's stupid, and you're stupid for liking it. No, Ghosts. So I think it's interesting that so have you never like had the interest to seek them out or like?
I think it's like when. So I love cats.
Right.
Cats know that I'm a tryhard. They can sense it, right? Okay. And people who know me will just say, try hard in a lovely way, but I'm not gonna dispute it. So when I go up to a cat, I'm like, hey buddy, hey, bus, and they're just like, just fuck you and the horse that you ran in on. Like, I don't want to see you because you actually want to see me. And I wonder if it's like that with ghosts. They know, like, they're like, oh god, she's not going to shut up. Like, if she got a spirit board out or something, we'd just be constantly, she'd talk our ears off for like the next 24. I've died. I want peace. I want quiet. I want chill. Like, I don't know. So so I've been to some haunted places.
Okay.
And I've definitely tried to seek them out. I don't know if part of it is my super skeptical brain will also take over.
Well, yeah, no, that's the thing is and if you've listened to the previous like spooky episodes of the show, listener, you know that like my attitude is like orbs are bullshit. It's illuminated dust through backscatter, and it's dust and bugs. Like, oh my god. Anytime I'm watching anything and they pulled out like orb photos, I just want to be like, do you not know how cameras work?
I think you'll find J.J. Abrams wants his lens flare back. Like,
you're lights illuminating the dust. That's it. It's dust. It's dust. It's dust and bugs. Yep. It's dust and bugs. Those little rods, that's a flying bug flying past your camera. I think that like paranormal investigators should be required to explain how every piece of equipment they're using works and why they think it will work and then explain the rationale of how they got there. Because I complain, like, the REM pod's the one I hate the most. I hate the REM pod. I hate that thing with the there's that box that I've seen it on the Watcher's Ghost Files, that they've been using that. I don't remember what it's called, but it's the box where they have like the vocabulary of words, and like it.
Oh
just,
yeah, spirit book. I don't know.
Yo, yeah, it's like, yeah, but I'm like, all of these suppose that whatever random ass ghost you're like, even if we go upon the idea that the ghost can express the forces required to alter the output of this device, like if we go with that concept, how the fuck are they expected to know how to do it? Like, because honestly, it seems like, okay, so this is going to be a dated reference that's going to immediately age me into dust, but I was about to say program a VCR. No one remembers how to program a VCR. I mean, I have one behind me. I don't know if that's going to show up on camera because Skype's going to split screen us, but on the video recording. But I have a VCR in my office that's not hooked up to anything. God, I had a weird dream that involved someone building this like media player device to look like a VCR in the room. Anyways, I just came up with a really good idea for a new invention. Or a gimmicky thing to sell at Sharper Image. But like, we have, as humans, like, have to learn to read manuals to use technology a lot of the time, or at least we used to with like program VCRs. But like, it's the amount of like, I only know how to use like half the features on my phone because I watched the keynote where they explained how to use them. Like, my mother is not going to figure out how to use this camera control on an iPhone unless I show her. Thankfully, she has like the previous generation highest end, so she's not replacing her phone for a while. Because the moment she gets one with this capacitive half press shit, I'm going to have to like take an hour to show her how to use it. Because the main reason why she uses her smartphone is as a camera. My mom is not a dumb person, by the way. But she's 70 and has never I've been explaining her how to use computers since her 40s. So it's like, this is the, like, how is a ghost supposed to know how, like, okay, what's that fucking device you just shoved in my face? I died in 1840. Like, right? Like, what am I supposed to do with this? Like, how are they supposed to know how to go through the index of words and select the word out of the vocabulary and do all of that? Like, it's like, you are putting so many things on this that and random chance and confirmation bias is going to cause you to pick out the stuff that like you think works and ignore the rest. And also, the odds are, statistically, it could assemble something logical on its own, miraculously through random fucking chance, but you think it's a ghost. Again, if a ghost is here, how does it fucking know?
Well,
also we're assuming the ghosts are the spirits of dead people, even in this. So we're assuming human intelligence.
In a language. Because languages evolved. So like the 1600s and the 1800s, they weren't, or maybe the 1800s, but the 1600s, they weren't speaking the same English.
Well, I'm in America, so our ghosts our white ghosts aren't as old. And we just forget that there might be dead people before the white people showed up.
Right.
So,
because they totally know how to speak English.
Like, we got some guy speaking Algonquin going like, what the fuck?
I told you guys to piss off the first time, and now you just keep coming back. Like,
I don't know. Yeah, it's biggest argument against ghosts at the. There's certain things I'm not going to say. Because this goes up on YouTube.
Oh, sugar. Whoops. Oh,
no, it's okay. We're well past that. This isn't going to be monetized.
Okay. I like the way I was just like, what other food group Can I use muffins? There we go.
The name of the show is I say bullshit in the intro of the show.
Just like to check. I like the way I didn't check when I just dropped the first F-bomb, but there we go.
No, it's if I clip it for clip clop, I will have to bleep the swear out, but I can do that in post. We're not going to bleep those out for the regular version or the YouTube version.
No.
It's
excellent.
Nobody watches the YouTube versions. Look at the views on the videos.
Most of us are driving.
The audio version. Listeners are, good-sized listener base, thousands of listeners. The YouTube version for a podcast, so it's good for a podcast that does not run ads and has a very small Patreon. Join the Patreon. It's a great way to get episodes like this a whole week early, and yeah. Also, join our forums. Lozzie has that shirt because she won a prize doing a contest on our forums. Nerdandtie.social. I don't even have a Nerd and Tie shirt.
I rep it, and people are just like, "What?" And I'm just like, "Oh, sorry, it's this really like niche thing. You won't get it, but you should definitely check it out."
You can go all hipster on it.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like, well, so there's this podcast network based out of Wisconsin.
People are just like, "But you're from England." I'm like, "Yes, it's almost like things have international reach." The internet exists, guys.
That is actually actually speaking of it's so the funny thing is it's like, so I'm in America, right? And so like it's the our buildings are all newer. It's because just like time. Linear time is a thing, right? It's like my town did not exist until like the 1800s. My neighborhood did not exist until the 1970s.
Oh wow!
Like where I'm sitting right now. If you go back to the mid 20th century, I'm in farmland.
Yeah,
this is all farmland. And that because I'm on the the whole newer the whole side of town. Like there used to be in a place. There's one of the places I used to live that used to be like an airport. Because before they moved it to the other, so there was not like an airport, but just like a landing strip for like small crop dusters. So obviously because I lived in a haunted house. I talk about that a lot in some of the early episodes, but that haunted house I lived in was built in the 70s. And I'm pretty sure nobody died there. I don't know where the fucking ghost came from. There's no this is why I often don't go with the idea that ghosts are the spirits of dead people, because every single one I've ever encountered, well, I mean, technically the ones I encountered outside, I don't know. It's because I've had spooky experiences out in outdoor places, but the haunted house and the high school theater, nobody ever died in these places. And obviously, people died who went to those places, but there's no evidence, and I've never seen any evidence that they were the things that I encountered and saw were the spirits of dead humans. I'm of the firm belief that we have no evidence of an afterlife. I'm not dismissing the idea. I'm just saying I have no evidence of it.
Yeah.
My opinion on an afterlife is I will find out when I get there, and I'm not really giving a shit about it before then, because it seems counterproductive.
Yeah, it's interesting you said about history and stuff, because where I grew up originally, my house wasn't built until the 1950s, so post-war, trying to get loads of people out of London, trying to set up these new towns, in quotes. So I always just assumed it was because I lived in a council house, a 1950s, not prefab, but it was a created area and nothing spooky. It was just farmland before, so nothing spooky was there. And then when I moved in with my now husband, it's actually a 1850s old Victorian schoolhouse that's been converted. So I was like, oh, there's going to be like loads of ghosts and spooky shit, and I'm going to have to go around and do all the wards and stuff. And then my husband was just like, yeah, but ghosts don't want to go back to school. Like who
See, I
croaks it and
disagree.
then goes, you know where I'm going to go back? School. Like I'm
So I
like, yep, fair
disagree. In
dues.
my experience, that like schools, like one of the most haunted feeling places is an old school. You know, it's especially like ones that have, especially ones that like I went to like the high school, like because we talk about, like I talk about it from the sense of a theater ghost when I talked about it in the earlier episodes, but like the high school theater at my high school was where I first saw a ghost for the first time in my life, and there were legends about it that happened before it, and like every legend about this ghost was false bullshit, right?
Yep.
Like we had a name for it, and there was like this legend about this kid who died there in like the 70s or like because the school had been built the school had been built about 90 years before I went there, I think, thereabouts. um and it had been completely like renovated in the 70s. So like the theater had not originally been the theater. I think it like there had been like the gym had been there. um like they redid the whole layout. Like there was a whole
Yep.
third floor that was sealed off, and that was
Oh wow.
spooky as hell. And there was actually like random sections of the building that were sealed off that were eerie. Like but and there was a ghost there, and it was like it was a haunted place, and it was a school. It's some of my favorite things about that school were like it was so trippy. Um it reminded me of like the Winchester Mansion a little bit, only because like so you're in like a regular like hallway, school hallway, very 1970s architecture, and there's like what is a labeled as like a storage closet. You open it up, you walk in, you are in what appears to be a hallway. It's the old hallway. There are stairs that go up into a wall. There are lockers on one side, and it is just like full of desks and storage. It's like, but you're in effectively like a 20-foot length of hallway that's like full high school hallway width with lockers and stairs and like completely painted, like it like they just walled it off and moved it. Like there's a whole third floor to that building because it's a two-story school, and what happened was is that they just didn't have enough. The time it took to evacuate for a fire was too long.
Right.
There
Yes.
used to actually be a tower on the building that they tore down the tower
Wow.
entirely long before I got there. So like I see all these old photos, and there's like this beautiful tower on the building with like this like glass skylight, and it looks amazing. There's apparently was a classroom up there, but they tore that tower down because like just maintaining it was too expensive. But like the third floor, because they didn't have like it wasn't good for like emergencies and fire evacuations, they just walled up every staircase except for one. And that staircase that wasn't walled up was accessible through the theater. And you went up this like flight of stairs over the stage. I think there might have been another staircase that was like accessible to janitors, but I didn't know where it was. But like most, if you were up there, you'd find a stairwell, and there were like bricks. And you just go up there, and it's like there's a room full of old toilets. It's like it is just storage. And so like first off, the stairway to get up there is like over the stage, like so you are like 2 stories up and like on this metal stairwell with like grips on both sides, and like there's just this door at the top with a key, and you open it up, and then like you just walk out, and you're like in a hallway, and in a like an old school hallway that is not been changed since the 70s. And it is like obviously everything's covered in dust, but
Yeah.
there's like boxes of storage stuff. That's why I think there has to be another staircase. There's no way they were hauling stuff up that like long narrow metal set of stairs for like all this stuff. That doesn't seem safe. And clearly like more stuff, but like it's storage, like all this stuff there. But walk in, there's this ballet studio, which this huge open room, there are like these paintings of ballerinas like on these 2 large columns. It's like wooden floors, perfect condition, untouched, and you're just walking into this, and it's It is gorgeous. It is the most haunted feeling place I have ever been. Like I didn't see I saw the ghosts in like the regular like used part of the building, but let me tell you, it is a spooky, eerie experience to walk through there because like the director of the theater had a set of keys to get up there. So like we were like they let us go up, like they let students go up there a couple of times like in small groups. Like a couple of teachers would let students go up there, and it was just amazing to walk around up there. There also used to be there was a tunnel. There was a grade school across the street. There still is a grade school across the street, although it's now a different building. They tore down the old building, built a new one since then, since I was in school. Because I graduated high school in 1999, so all this was a long time ago. The school's still there, but you know, there had at one point been a tunnel underneath the connecting the two schools. It goes under the road. Now that is walled off on the grade school side because they stopped using it, but the whole tunnel exists and was only accessible through the theater basement. There was this huge metal sliding door that you could just walk through, and one direction would take you to all these storage rooms that were like walled off parts of like the lower first floor that were being used for storage by the school. So also like what had been a classroom once, it's just like stuff. And then like the other direction is like this long dark tunnel that it ends in a brick wall, but it's just like you're just like full of stuff that you were keeping for the theater, and like it is just that is like my high school has like all of these little sections. Like, oh yeah, there's a time I was like, oh, go put these in the storage area, like off of the art hallway, and you're like walking through like, and the art hallway is like fairly updated, modern looking building, and then you open up the door and you walk in, and it's like these were the locker rooms for the old gym, because the theaters where the gym used to be.
Yeah.
And you walk in and you're in like a shower without shower heads. And like it's so fucking eerie.
That's like Silent Hill, like
it is. No, it is. Yeah. It is exactly that. I didn't have that context in 1997.
No,
but yeah, it is. It is like you're just walking it. You're like walking through it, like it's being used for storage. Like you see like old football, like the current, because it was in the off season, so like the football jerseys that aren't getting used right now, like. Clearly, this is active storage being used by the high school, but it's like there's just like a whole locker room here that you don't know exists if you're just like walking through this building as a student. And like because I learned all this stuff because like I did like all like the theater, like we took over, like we used a lot of stuff. And I took, you know, and we did a lot of the, like our theater was staffed by students, so like when other groups needed to use the theater, they would hire the student technical staff. So like we would, so like we had access to like all these spaces. Also, like so many like the theater storage rooms were like clearly other, like there was a hallway that went through the back of our theater that all the access points for the theater were on the first floor of the 2 stories that we used, right? But obviously the theater is like 2 stories tall. In the back of the balcony there was like there was the tech booth for the theater and like a spotlight booth, and behind there was this hallway, and there were a couple of rooms that we used for like prop storage that had clearly been like storage rooms for like chem classes. Like there was like some stuff there, and then like one of them clearly been like a lounge for like a teacher's lounge. But at the end of the hallway kept going and spat you out at this hallway on the second floor, like nowhere near the theater. That like near the math department.
Yeah.
And I remember there were a couple of times where like I had like, because I was a theater nerd, which meant that sometimes I ate my lunch with my friends in the theater instead of the cafeteria.
Yep.
Because we would be doing like tech work stuff for the school. Like I was mostly an actor, but I would help out with like effectively, like I had friends who were tech, and like I would go hang out, and like if they needed something, like just go get me this or go move this, like, you know, like, but we would be hanging out most of the time, and then like maybe they'd be getting like a little bit of work done. and like, but I had a class on the second floor, so I like cut up, go through the back of the theater, go through the winding hallway, and then spit myself out of a locked, because you can't go back into the theater that way. The door's locked on the other side. But like,
no.
so like I would get confused looks from people as I would like just like jump, like walk out of like a door that no one knew existed, because it was just like a flat black door.
Yeah.
That, like,
Why
yeah,
would you think about it?
yeah, and so like I would just like materialize on like the opposite end of the school from where like, because like in geography, like if you line it up, and actually they aren't that far apart, but the stairs to get there and like are so far apart from each other that like your mental geography feels like they're 2 points that are very distant when they're right next to each other. But yeah.
Yeah, your internal geography when you're inside somewhere is very different to your external geography. Yeah, I can see that. I'll reframe that as larger schools, because this is like a yeah. Everyone's just like, oh my god, she lives in a school. How big is that? I'm like, no. It's small for what it is, but
Well,
no, it is really interesting.
But even like old like one room schoolhouses often have like reports of stuff. That's why I think so. It's, I mean, I don't think that every school is haunted, but I also don't think that is a reason to dismiss the possibility of a ghost.
Who knows? Maybe the other part of me wonders if I am just oblivious with the old ADHD. Like,
I mean, actually, like, here's the thing: is it's like I know a lot of people who, so I lived in that haunted house. I had 2 roommates. I had 2 roommates, Sean and Laura, and we're all over 6'3". I think I'm the only one who remembers the ghost. It's weird. So I don't think Laura ever saw it. Like, so Laura not remembering the ghost is normal, right? Because I don't think I'm 100% confident nothing ever happened with Laura around. But she also only lived with us for like 1 year out of the 3 years that we lived in that house. But Sean, also known as Sean Orange, co-host of Famicom Dojo here on the Nerd and Tie Podcast Network, and Two Boobs Watch the Tube. Both can be found at nerdandtie.com. He doesn't like. I talked to him. I don't think he ever saw anything with it, but I talked to him about stuff that I did see. And like I talk about the ghost because like there was like the overt thing where I think it was my hat. Like I watched it slide off the counter in the kitchen. Like it's, there were little things, and like it's, I know that my room was like more haunted than his, because like I had the snoring in the corner of my room. That was. So to reiterate the short version of the story, I lived in a house, the duplex. That actually I currently live down the street from. I drive by it every day. That house had a ghost. It had something in it. I refer to it as the cat we did not ask for.
Yep.
Because it was like dealing with a cat. But I used to hear like so I'm sleeping in a room. I would hear snoring coming from the far side of my room. Now it is the side of the room that shared a wall with my roommate, right? So I assumed I was hearing my roommate through the wall. And so I like get up because I was getting bothered by the snoring sound, and I walk out into my living room because it's a small place. So like the bedroom, like technically there's a hallway, but it's like literally 5 feet. So like I walk out almost straight in. You walk out almost straight into the living room. I walk out, except my roommate's not in his room, and he's not asleep. He's playing video games with headphones on at his computer. And that snoring I've been hearing for multiple nights, like, and for a while, isn't him.
I wouldn't even mind. He's not even paying rent. Come on, ghost. You're not even paying rent, man.
And I like go like, okay. Great. It's not my first ghost, but it is the first one I've had to live with. And so I pretty much just like, you cannot be in my room. You cannot be in this bedroom. You can be anywhere else in the house, but you're not allowed in this one room. Same rules for the fucking cat. We did have a real cat. Like, you have to understand, there was this and the real cat Andromeda, and the cat wasn't allowed to sleep in my room, to come into my room anymore because When we first moved in, I hadn't moved my bed in yet. I eventually did, but I didn't move my bed in yet. I was sleeping in a sleeping bag on the floor for
Oh
like the
no.
first 2 months that I lived in that apartment, and the cat peed on it.
Oh no, no.
So that sleeping bag went into the
Yep.
garbage, and I was suddenly
Yep.
sleeping on like a blanket on the floor.
Yep.
But the door was closed forever, and
Yep.
that cat was never allowed in my room again.
100% legit.
I brought a girl home when I was still sleeping on the floor in that place. What the hell? Like, man, early 20s, you do stupid
Yep.
things.
Yep. Yep.
We had a futon we had 2 living rooms in that house, and we had a futon in one of them. Yet we went, what is? Oh God.
Past us, man.
20-year-old Trae
Yep.
was just apparently had pretty good game, because I dated that girl for several months. I mean, there's a lot wrong with me, but
yep.
she went along with it. That's the other problem. Anyways, yeah. So like I yelled, and suddenly the snoring stopped after I yelled at it to get out of my room.
Yeah.
But it would do shit like it knocked stuff over. It moved. We had 2 linen closets, which was very convenient when you have two. It was a 2-bedroom place. When Laura lived there, she lived in a half renovated room in the basement that was the prior owners had one time been trying to put a bathroom down there and given up. So there was a shower curtain for a door. It was past like, so the layout of the basement was, there's this furnished family room that was really nice, which had like it had like a bar in it, which we were really nerds, so it was covered in Transformers and not alcohol.
Yep.
So living with Sean made me look so much cooler than I was, because I'd bring a girl home, and she'd see like these multiple huge shelves of Transformers, and I'd be like, sorry, those are my roommates, because they were all fucking Sean's, because Sean's the one who had money to buy Transformers. I had a shelf, but suddenly my a shelf does not look bad compared to these 2 giant floor to ceiling shelves, each one probably about 8 feet wide of Transformers, floor to ceiling, multiple, and like, don't get me wrong, I also would have loved to own that stuff.
Yep.
I just didn't. So
I was about to say, I would have been, if I'd gone home with a guy and I'd seen that and he was just like, it's my roommates, I'd just be like, can I have your roommate's number instead, please, mate?
Well, no, but
like,
I
would have
like,
just been
I would have said only the way I would, like, well, first off, no person ever went out with me who did not know exactly how nerdy I was.
I was about to say, like, it comes with the territory, right?
Like,
I had before I met my husband, like, I'd moved out and I'd moved into a shared house with some roommates, and in my room I got some bed sheets, and they were Marvel double bed sheets, and I was so happy that you could get Marvel comics, like, and this is age 28, so I can't even blame my early 20s for this. My poor mum was just like, are you not worried that might put like potential suitors off? And I was just like, mother dearest, it's a litmus test.
Yeah.
They're not impressed by the Marvel bed sheets.
If they're not at least okay with it, because like, so I married a nerd. My wife is a nerd. It's my wife has an AO3 account. We have had long discussions about the Hannibal fanfic challenge that she was writing, about the logistics of werewolves, and how werewolf pregnancy works. So like, I married a nerd, but not every person I dated in my younger days was a nerd, but they had to be okay with me being a nerd.
Exactly.
Like, and they were well aware. Like, it's so it's you would have to be comfortable with my being a nerd. It's but anyways, so the ghost in the house. But it like moved, like there were times where like items of mine, I put it in my own linen closet, and then it would like suddenly like show up in the other one without Sean having been home, and my definitely didn't do it. And it's like, so it's like stuff moved around, stuff like just happened, and that cat was terrified of entering half the rooms, but I don't know if the cat was just skittish or not. One girl I dated refused to be left alone in the apartment without me in the duplex, because it's a duplex. So I sometimes
Yep.
interchangeably refer to it as a house and an apartment because technically it was both.
Ah.
It was like she refused to be alone in the place without me. Like if I like yeah,
Yeah,
it
I
was
think.
it was a wild place to live, but it's a recent house, It's no. Laura lived in the murder basement, though. She 100% lived in the murder basement.
Yep.
It was just like her bed was like, so it wasn't a huge room. It was like built to be a bathroom.
Yeah.
And so you go into, there's this furnished family room, and then you go through a door, like an open doorway. There wasn't like a physical door that closed, but it was still like, that was the laundry room, right? There was the washer and dryer, not a huge room, and there was a hallway went off of that, and it was this really narrow hallway, and then you'd pass by this room that looked like they were trying to build a bathroom out of and given up. Like there's no, like there's the cheap vinyl tile walls that like are fake tile on drywall, and then there's no ceiling. It's just ductwork overhead. And then you go down the hallway, and there's like a storage room with shelves and like a workshop area. But so it was like there was no door, there was no ceiling,
God.
really, and it would just be when she lived there, all that was in the room, because she kept her stuff in like a dresser in our laundry room. And I say dresser, it was like those cheap plastic bins with drawers, like in our laundry room. And then her bedroom was just her bed in the middle of the room, not up against any of the walls. It had a headboard and footboard, but like underneath, like so, like this dark. So like the door was a shower curtain.
Oh man!
Not having a door had side effects. But also not having a ceiling had side effects. Like there was no risk of any of us going back there, because like if you for some reason need to get something out of the storage room, you would just make sure that like Laura was not in her room. Like anywhere else in the house is fine. So you could go back, and like you couldn't see into her room because the shower curtain would be closed. So, but not having a ceiling was a real detriment, because there was a time I was on the phone with someone, and we all heard the noises. Laura at the time was actually dating, like Laura has gotten engaged to 2 ex-girlfriends of mine. The person she finally married is someone I never dated, which must be why that relationship worked out. But so she was dating my ex-girlfriend, and I'm just hearing really loud noises coming from, like it's so loud through the vent.
Oh my god!
That the person I'm talking to, my then girlfriend at the time, on my phone in my bedroom, and with the door closed, it's just the noises start coming up through the vent, because the big duct is right through like the ceiling of the room. That was not a ghost. That has a rational explanation. When you're looking at ghosts and hauntings, you should look, what real sounds could I be hearing right now that are just being reflected and traveled in a unique way? What audio could I be hearing that could be coming? And now it could be the moans of people who you don't want to mentally picture doing that, or it could be a cat meowing near a vent, or squirrels, and hopefully for you it's squirrels.
Yep.
Unless squirrels scream in such an eerie fucking way.
Not as bad as foxes, though. Not as bad as foxes.
And
Munkjack. There's this.
I don't know what a munkjack is. I've lived near squirrels and foxes. I've never lived near a munkjack.
No. I will send you an audio clip. I think it's on my now very defunct TikTok that I haven't like touched in like years now. But it's this munkjack, and it's like 3 a.m. and I've got the windows open because it's summer, and it's just going. It's not like a goose honk. It's like a bark scream, and but it comes from a deer that's about this big by this big. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, what's that? Because I lived in cities and I've lived in towns, and it's my first time like moving out to ostensibly like the countryside.
Yeah.
And it was just making this noise, and I was just like, what on earth is it? Honestly, living out in the countryside is so much noisier than living in a town and city, because you hear the pheasants, you hear the geese. I love it. And like just these things that just bark and scream at goodness knows what hours in the night. So again, there could be a ghost in my house, and it would have to compete with the cacophony that's happening, like animal mating season outside. I think weird things like stuff like falls off of shelves. We've had an entire shelving like unit like that was built into the wall,
right,
just fall down. But again, we always put it down to, oh well, it's old Victorian plastering.
But yes, I would expect that too. Like, right, no, and that's what I would do.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't attribute that to a ghost,
No.
unless I saw a figure of a person materialize and go. Like,
no, I don't like your Lego. It was the Lego shelf as well, which was, I mean, at least it was the Lego because at least you can like stick it back together. So there are worse things for the shelf.
Was the shelf built out of Lego, or was it?
No. It was the shelf housing for Lego figurines.
Yeah.
Maybe it was an angry teacher. It's just like, no, put your stuff away. Why have you got stuff out?
Oh. Yep. Maybe it's just a really racist ghost who doesn't like the Danish.
Yeah. Oh, that would work around here. To be fair, that would work around here out in the fen. So yeah, that would.
For listeners who don't know, Lego comes from Denmark.
It does.
And I made that joke not realizing maybe people don't know that.
Yeah, that's true. I suppose. Yeah, you don't really, because there is a. Yeah, I can't remember where exactly it is in Denmark, but I do want to. It's on my trip of places to go, is to the OG Legoland.
I know that Billund is where their headquarters is. I don't know where.
That's it, Billund. There we go.
Yeah, I didn't Google that real quick to make sure I was right when I said Danish. I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Denmark, but with my luck, it'll be fucking Holland. What is it? And I'll say Danish when I should have said the Dutch. Fuck. No.
Is it French? French, Danish. Oh yeah, that's.
And then someone will be like, well, you said Holland when you should have said the Netherlands. I'm like, fuck you. Eat a tulip.
See, at least I can plead ignorance. I can just be like, we're English, we're arrogant as fuck.
I have a degree in political science. I went to school for this.
I did history and drama, joint honours, so I should know where places are. I just maintain that I didn't do geography, so...
I literally, for classes, had to memorize where every fucking... Do you know how I used to... here's the problem is I've forgotten so much. I used to be able to look at a blank map and tell you every former Soviet republic on the map.
Yep.
And I can't do that anymore. I can point at Ukraine.
Yep.
I can point at Russia.
I mean...
I'm just like, so one of these over here is Belarus. I don't know. Fuck it. I don't know. And
it's getting a little bit wibbly wobbly with the old borders, so
it's it's I used to be able to do every country in Africa. I used to be like literally there was a point where I could like pull up a blank world map and show you every single country. Now I just remember kind of use generally this area. Where's France? I don't know. Fuck it. It's across from
that's fair, isn't it, mate?
Look, there's the fucking island that is the fucking UK and Ireland. So go to the wherever the shortest point. That's where fucking Calais is.
Exactly.
I can find France on a map. I'm exaggerating. I just need to at the moment be like, no, I know where France is on the fucking map. I am making a joke.
Oh man.
I may not be able to point out every Canadian province anymore, but I know where France is, okay? Give me a break. It's just, there's information I don't use in my daily life working my boring office job. That like...
It's like that episode of The Simpsons where Homer's just like, you can see Homer's brain and it just pushes a series of information and then it just goes off the cliff at the back. And I'm like, yep, that's 100% correct. If I have not used it.
I went to college in my 20s. I am in my 40s.
I've slept since then.
I've been working my boring office job that does not require my degree so long they gave me this free laptop.
Oh man, definitely. I think geography of places is also really interesting in terms of like spooky stuff because
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, because I'm researching like because I have not seen a ghost, and I was just like, Trae, you can definitely. I'm more than happy to come on, but also at the same time, you're speaking to someone who has actually seen a ghost, so we can try.
Yes, that's why I thought it would be fun to talk about ghosts with a person who's never seen one.
So I was just like, oh well, what local folklore can I research, and what can I like see what's happening? And there's one like bit of local folklore that seems to happen like everywhere in England. Everywhere's got like either a black shuck of some description, or like a hellhound, or like a beast.
Yes.
Like there always seems to be like some roaming beast. So yeah.
Yeah, and you get that a lot with like also like werewolves. Like it's in Wisconsin here. We've got the Beast of Bray Road, which is in southern Wisconsin. The supposed werewolf. It's a bear with mange. There's supposed to. It's a black bear with mange. I'm sorry, that's what it is. Like, oh, and it stood up like a man. Yes, like black bears do. It's a black bear with mange.
Yeah.
But there's the Michigan Dog Man. There's like there's there is in theory supposed to be like a big black cougar, Claire. Like first off, mountain lions / cougars only come through the state of Wisconsin about twice a year, right? Like they'll get spotted once or twice, but they're usually going somewhere else. It's incredibly rare for a large cat, and they're never. I don't even know if like when you hear black panther, like panther is a word used for cougars and mountain lions, like because but there's also like a black panther is not that, like that's in another continent, but because panther is also a word that can be used for other kinds of cats. I don't believe that like an American black panther exists, but there are reports, and like including one from this so this is my favorite. Cryptids are fun. Because I was so excited to find out there might be a cryptid where I lived, right? Like, there's a cryptid where I live, yay! And then I researched and I'm like, oh, because like this woman who worked at a hospital that recently closed down. Unfortunately, the hospital in my neighborhood, it doesn't exist. HSHS can go suck a dick. They shut down 2 of our major hospitals in the area. We're suddenly like down from having 5 hospitals to 3, and one of those serviced Chippewa Falls, which is 20 minutes north, which means it now takes, if people in Chippewa County now have an extra 20 minutes to get to an emergency room. So
that doesn't have an impact on patient outcomes at all.
Yeah.
Almost like time is essential.
And they gave like no warning it was shutting down. Like there's like emergency plans in place. I am glad that I went through Mayo Clinic and not through HSHS for all of my medical care, because my hospital's still open. But anyways, like, so it was a nurse driving home, and she's like I'm driving down 37, and I'm like, okay, I know where this is. Like, I literally just drove that 2 days ago. Like, I know exactly where this person's going, and this giant black cat, and then I looked at the term, and like, I'm reading the description of the story, I'm like, you saw a black bear. There are a bunch of black bears around here. In fact, in the spring, there's this campus dorm for non-traditional for the university here that is located separate from the campus called the Priory. It used to be like a convent that the university bought, and they warned students living there in the spring to look out for black bears, because just coming out of hibernation, groggy black bears will wander into the area there. Yep. And like they are always spotted. Like you see photos of the local news every year. The black bear is wandering into the area. I once was walking down the street I currently live on, where I lived in the haunted house, and was informed by a cop I had to cross the street. And I said, why? He said, well, there's a bear in that tree. And I went, okay, and went right across the street. It was the friendliest interaction I've ever had with a cop. And the one time I was glad to see a cop, as the cop was keeping people away from the bear, because I am in a very suburban neighborhood.
Yep.
Like, we were, at the time, 2 blocks from the then functioning hospital.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm like, what you're describing is a fucking black bear. It's not a giant cat. You just don't know what. Like, I'll tell you, the first time you see black bear move, like, really, normally, the first assumption is a dog, right? Because it moves like a dog when it's going on all four legs. If you've watched a black bear move, black bears are much smaller than grizzlies. The American black bear is much smaller than a grizzly. Like, you usually you think of a bear, you think of the big giant grizzly.
Yeah.
A black bear when it stands up is still like 5 foot something. So, like, it's you're looking at a bear the size of my wife. Like, it ain't small, and it's got a lot more mass.
Yep.
But they're not huge. But you think it's and it moves kind of like a dog, and then you get closer and you realize it's scaled larger than you think, and so it's really eerie. Like, it is kind of eerie, and if you're not used to seeing it, like, because they're not out during the day usually, right? Like, sometimes, every once in a while, but they don't usually, like, most of them stay away from people.
Yeah.
And this woman's just like, you saw a fucking bear at night. You saw a bear. Because you're in the neighborhood where we have to worry about bears sometimes. You saw a bear. But no, it's but like, it's like half the time, it's always like something ridiculous. But it's like, there's, like, I think, like, because we have like this fear of like dogs and wolves that are kind of like baked in, and like, it's like there used to be wolves around here.
Yeah.
They're slowly coming back, but we killed off a lot of them where I live. Well, they killed off all the ones where you live.
Yeah. 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 And it's interesting because you were saying, like, oh, like, at least in like the Americas and stuff, you can rationalize going, oh, that's a black bear.
Yeah.
But in England, we don't have any of that shit.
Yeah, you don't. You do have dogs, like, though.
Yeah, we do have big dogs. But it's just like, yeah,
some
and
fucking sheep hounds just minding its business and like, oh my god, a monster.
Yep. Yeah, but I think also it's that kind of folktale that, like, it is those whispers that start out of, oh, I saw this thing that I didn't realize it was there. Oh, well, that'll be all black shuck. That'll be, it would just, yeah, it's really interesting. And it swings wildly. My particular black shuck or black dog, it swings wildly between it being demon. So like a hellhound, great big glowing red eyes, dribbling fangs, and big pointy, all the better to see you with, my dear type. Yeah.
Wait, you went with better to see you with after big pointy ears, and I
hear you with. Yeah, no, I skipped. My brain just went TLDR. Everyone knows this story. Boff, just straight on to hear you. All the better to hear you with. There we go.
You ever think? Sorry, this is. And I don't have ADHD, but the better to see you with, like, what big eyes you have never really makes sense to me, because that's not really a thing we talk about with predators, right? Like,
no,
we don't think about like wolves having large eyes.
No, maybe the predator was a man all along.
Well, the huntsman does come in and kill that guy. So I mean, he is the dead one at the end of the story.
Mm-hmm.
Man was the real monster.
But what if there's already a guy there? Or the man was there.
I'm just saying that maybe
man bear wolf, man bear pig. That's something else.
It's either that or Red Riding Hood needs glasses, and I think that might be true in general, because you couldn't tell the difference between a wolf and her grandmother.
Yeah, that is very true.
So I think a visit to the optometrist is really the moral of the story is go see an optometrist.
Yes. Once every 2 years, or as soon as you notice anything different.
Yeah.
This has been a PSA. So
you never know when you might have a blind spot that you don't realize is there.
Who knew? Yeah.
And also, sometimes you just get older, and then you have to buy a pair of these, which are my reading glasses.
I was about to say, I'm waiting for my varifocal use to come in. I don't need. Oh, amazing. Amazing.
This is my office pair. I have separate pairs for different rooms. So I don't have to figure out where my glasses are. I don't have to remember to I left them in the other room. No, I have my office readers. I have my bedroom readers. I have my living room readers, which are also my travel readers.
Yep. I'm supposed to wear them for like reading / computer use, but they just constantly end up on my face, because if I didn't, then I would lose them all the time. And the amount of times I've just been like going around being like, "Hey Hubs, have you seen my glasses?" And he's just like, there. And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, oh, brilliant, amazing."
Oh, so you aren't
yeah.
just like, what? Why are you trying to tell me to remember it? I can't remember it. That's why. Like...
No, I will check my head first. So I'll just be like, okay, yeah, no, that's a good point. But yeah, so spooky shit.
I love. Well, it's cryptids are so often like though like explained by stuff. Like it's the problem is I've told so many stories over the years that I know I'm repeating. Like, but the Crawfordsville monster is my favorite cryptid. Have I told you the Crawfordsville monster?
No.
The Crawfords. Okay, so Crawfordsville, Indiana. I used to live in Lafayette, Indiana. Crawfordsville's like 45 minutes away. It's just a normal little town. I think the guy who wrote Ben-Hur lived there. Like, I think that's their biggest like claim to fame, is that he wrote part of Ben-Hur while living there. So the town has this legend of this monster, and it was this flying swarm. And so like not long after they introduced electric streetlights, they had these reports of this giant like white miasma of like malevolence, and like these two guys were out working one night and they looked up and they saw like this fiery eye through like this white flowing cloud, and like there were reports of this thing all over town, until like I think it was like, and like all this in these newspapers, like it's reported all this stuff. It was a flock of birds. I think they were kites. They have this kind of white underside. The electric lights, which were new, had confused the birds.
Of course, because they're not used to that light source.
Yeah,
so they're all like, what the flop is this? It's daytime, so we can go out hunting, right?
Right. So this flock of kites have been flying around town. The reason why they saw the fiery eye was because the workers were on the ground and looked up and saw the streetlight overhead through the flock of birds.
Oh my gosh.
And so like for months, this town was like racked in fear of this monster terrorizing their streets, until someone just went out and like actually approached it and figured out it's a bunch of birds.
It is amazing how our brains default to the fantastical, though. Like,
well, but it's like everything was this new experience, right? Like it's like it's the streetlights. Having streetlights was a new experience for the people in the town to begin with. So like, first off, you're like, oh my god, it's like your thoughts are, was there a monster here this whole time that we just never saw because we didn't have streetlights? Like, has this malevolent cloud of this entity been like flying around everywhere and we just didn't see it? And I mean, kind of, it was birds. You saw the birds all the time in the daylight. But yeah, it's like, so that's also why Mothman's an owl. Anyways, well, because one of the problems is at night is we as humans, the way our low light vision works is very different from our daylight vision. And it is actually really hard to judge scale in low light because, our depth perception is not as good in darkness. So that's why like the Mothman being an owl is just my current theory, because I've read a bunch of stories, like these reports about Mothman, and I was like, this sounds like an owl. And also one time I was driving down the road late night, going, because my wife and I go to drive-in movie theaters, and we were living in Indiana. We were driving home, and there's a section that like you're moving from one highway to the other, but you go through like this dark woods on a 2-lane road. And I saw what looked like a figure in the road ahead, and it turned its head, and then it flew away on wings. It was an owl, but the problem is it looked way bigger than it was in the middle of the road, illuminated by my headlights. As I got closer to it, I figured out it was smaller, but when I first saw it, I thought it was a person. And I thought it was like 5 feet tall or something. And then I got closer. I realized it was like 2 feet. Like it was like this.
Yep.
I can't put my hands on camera, but I don't know if that'll get cut off by Skype. But like it was a large owl, but it was still just regular owl size. It was not that big at all. But my brain had scaled it wrong in the darkness, and it flew away. And I was just like, and so like when I started like hearing like the detailed Mothman sightings, I was just like, yeah, that guy on that roof, that was an owl. I'm sorry, it's a fucking owl. Like literally everything you just told me in that story That's an owl. Like,
Owl.
I'm not trying to dismiss Mothman.
No.
Mothman's a really fun idea. I love Mothman, but I am going to say at least some of those sightings, that's an owl. I think most people just like the idea of Mothman more than they care about whether or not Mothman's actually real.
Yeah, I think that's half the fun about cryptids, though. It's a bit like the Loch Ness Monster. Like, how many times have they, like, dredged up that lake? Like, well, not dredged it, but how many times have they gone down with cameras and stuff? But there's still, like, a Loch Ness museum. And I think with the folklore tales and stuff, I think
it's paid for a lot of good research on just, like, actual, like, isn't there that guy who, like, raised money to, like, do funding, like, say he's gonna go look for the Loch Ness Monster and he knows it's not there, but it gets him funding to, like, do the actual, like, aquatic studies he wants to do, and he just goes, nope, confirmed, we didn't see it, but here's the real research we found.
But we did find this really super awesome, like, special seaweed that, like, or lakeweed or whatever that lives underneath, and then we definitely know that it's, you know, this can do this, this, and this.
Well, it's yeah, for Nessie to exist would require enough food to support a reproducing population, and somehow have, like, because if there's a real animal, there isn't just one. Like, they don't, like, one animal isn't going to live for millions of years. You know, you need a reproducing population that exists, and it's just like, if you look at the size of the fucking lake. And, like, I loved the Loch Ness Monster as a kid before I knew anything about biology and science. And it was a really fun idea. But it's like that. You get the same thing with, like, Champ and Lake Champlain here in the United States. It's just like, no, that doesn't exist. Like, if you told me, like, there was a sea monster in the ocean.
Oh, the Kraken, that definitely exists.
Well, you know, there was a long time that people thought giant squids were a myth, and then one washed up on shore. Like, you can, like, I would believe, like, if you were trying to sell me that a Loch Ness Monster, like, creature lived in the ocean still, and we just hadn't found it, like, I could get on board, but no one's telling me that, right? Like, no one's saying there's a plesiosaur or whatever, you know, like, swimming around the Atlantic down in the Marianas Trench. Like, no one's saying that. That's not a myth that people have. So, like, the lake monster is, like, if there was a lake monster, it would have to be, like, this big. And because there'd have to be a bunch of them, and you'd know exactly what they were, because a fisherman would have caught one by now, for there to be a reproducing population.
Although there is an 80s TV show in the UK called The Family Ness, and it explores the fact that the Loch Ness Monster could not be the only Loch Ness Monster. So therefore there's a whole family of them. And that's adorable. It was a great TV show. I'll probably watch it back and be like, oh, I said on this podcast that it was a great TV show. I'll watch it back and I'll just be like, oh,
and then, like,
because it was an 80s cartoon.
5 comments about trans people in the show.
And then I just look back and I'm like, just get it. It was good for its time. There we go.
Australians are all criminals. Just like
we've got
some sort of weird old-timey racism that
that you just, as a kid, you just straight over your head.
Remember,
like,
you can't trust Italians. They're swarthy people. My wife is an Italian.
Fair, if it was
me
about
alone.
Scotland, it was probably derogatory towards the English. So.
Oh, well, that's fine.
That seems legit. Yeah,
that's 100%
fine. Legit.
We're all allowed to be mad at the English.
Yeah. We'll just sit there and just be like, oh, we'll drink our tea and just be like, yeah, okay, we'll just, okay, fair enough. I wonder how many folk tales also kind of, like, the beast or whatever, also, like, came across with like the colonies and things.
Absolutely.
Like,
well, there has to be a degree of that, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of shared culture, and I think, like, the fear of, like, I mean, the thing about large dogs is I think that there's kind of a natural human fear for it, because who living near dogs as a small child hasn't had at least one scary experience with a dog, right? Because dogs are, I love dogs. Don't get me wrong. Like
Yeah.
dogs are amazing, but they also like are territorial and defensive of their families, right? Like so
Yeah.
even some of the sweetest dogs you've ever met can get barky and mad at a
Yeah.
stranger.
Yeah.
And so I think that like at least as a small child, like I got like as a small child when I was like probably like 5 or 6, had a dog that was not a huge dog, but I was eye level with, run over and like tackle me, and it like scratched me down the face with its front claw. It wasn't even trying to hurt me, but it did.
Yeah.
And I was terrified of dogs for a long time because of that encounter. Like it took me till adulthood to be actually kind of like not instinctively flinch when I saw a dog
Yeah.
that I didn't know. Well, a larger dog. Small dogs have never scared me. They've just annoyed the shit out of me. Even the ones I like. It's there's something, it's like you go to your friend's house and this like for the record, dogs usually like me. There's one particular dog that hates me. That is Ethan, the artist on Peregrine Lake. Their mother. So Ethan lives in the Twin Cities, but they grew up in this area. So a couple times, like I've been over to the house that they grew up in, and their mother's dog hates everyone, including sometimes when Ethan's dad grew a beard, the dog suddenly turned on him, and he had to shave the beard because when he had the beard, the dog just hated him. So like when I say that dog hates everyone, it includes a person the dog lives with.
I'm not surprised. Is it quite smallish?
No.
Dog? No. Oh,
it's not a huge dog. It's like a medium-sized dog. It's like
I was about to say small dog syndrome is a thing. So
no. This is just a very neurotic dog. I think it came from like an abusive household before they had it. So like the dog likes one person. And will tolerate a couple other, but it does not like me. That is the one dog. It's the only dog I've ever met that just hated me. Like I've gotten like there was a dog in my neighborhood. So I take walks sometimes through the woods in my neighborhood, and there's this dog that lives. Their backyard fence is literally like this far away from the sidewalk. So when I encounter this dog, I am this far away from the dog. That it used to bark at me and like yell at me, and then like it just has warmed up to me, and now just like sits, looks up, and like ignores me while barking at everybody else. No, it's just a funny thing. It's like I'll be walking by, the dog will just like look at me, and then like this other guy was walking down the street like half a block behind me, and just like the dog goes crazy. I was like, yeah, the dog knows I'm part of the neighborhood. You're not. Walking to your car from the park.
How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you?
How dare you? Yeah, no, so I think that there is a memory of a lot of us of dogs being scary. So like I think that that's got to be a part of it, right? Like that entered our consciousness. So at least when we hear the story, it's very easy to imagine that fear. Yeah, I think it's dogs largely in the UK because you don't have any like natural predators that are just there, right? It's like it's gotta be. It is interesting that like in America, it's I guess it's the Michigan Dogman, but it's usually like a werewolf or a wolf. Where in the UK it's dogs because there's no chance it's gonna be a wolf.
I mean, the black shuck is supposed to be like the size of a wolf, so it's that kind of implied, but that kind of almost like the one that got away scenario, or the.
But you look in fiction like the Hound of the Baskervilles.
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly. It is a hound. It is it's not it's not the wolf of the Baskervilles. You know what I mean? That's no. So that's why like.
And also we get cats as well. So big cats. So
that's strange to me.
It's strange because everywhere, like again looking into it everywhere, and I was just like, oh, is this black shuck like only in this particular area? And I was just like, maybe it's across the whole of like the east of England. And black shuck simultaneously lives everywhere at the same time, like everywhere at the same time. And it's east of England, but down south, down in like Devon area, there's a place called Bodmin, and they've got the Beast of Bodmin. So Bodmin's really famous because they've got a big jail there that's like haunted as. I went to a haunted jail. and I still didn't see any ghosts. I went to another, sorry, tangent. I went to
No, this is a good tangent. We're on topic.
I went to a haunted, specifically a place with haunted dolls, and it has like the collection of most haunted things, and still absolutely like no ghosts whatsoever.
Yeah.
The guy handed me a skull and was just like, there's a spirit that lives in this skull, and there was other people around me who really believed in it. He was like, okay, and I think it's probably the black lipstick and the pentacle, right? So he was just like, yeah, you'll be on board, like, which is, fair enough, absolutely, granted, you got me there. And he handed me this, and he's like, the skull, I want you to guess the name, or close your eyes and see if like she talks to you. And I was just thinking, right, okay, and I almost had to find myself doing a cold read because I didn't want to disappoint the other people around me, because there was this young lass who was like so into it. And I was just like, okay. And he said like Victorian. So I was like, oh my God, right. Everyone was called Mary or Elizabeth. Like those are the rules. Like if you, like anyone says 1600s to like 1800s, I'm just like, oh shit, it's going to be Mary or Elizabeth, right? I mean, there were other names clearly, but I was just like, so this guy hands me this skull, and I was just like, and I didn't pretend she was talking to me. I just kind of went, I'm getting like,
why were you
Mary
getting anything?
I was just like, I'm getting Mary vibes. And he was like, oh no, Mary is this one next to me. And this poor girl turns to me and said, oh, you must have been picking up on that one by mistake. And I just handed this skull back, and like my husband's just like looking at me as if to be like, how do you end up in these situations? And I'm like, I don't know. I've got one of those faces. I can't help it. And I was just like, yeah, you're probably right, because I could not break this, even though I'm like.
Why would you be picking up vibes at all? Why were you expected to be a medium in that situation? I don't understand. I don't understand. At no point in my life have I been anywhere where you, random person, you look like a medium. Take this skull. What is happening? How are you?
And I was just like, again, I think it must have been black lipstick and pentacle.
You know that girl is telling people about this at parties. About that time she went on a tour with this witch who like totally like vibed in, and she knew the name. And like, it's, you are causing... So that girl's gonna go on TikTok, and she's gonna tell the story, and now it's gonna be something that like it's gonna go across some feed, and then it's gonna end up on some collection on some guy's YouTube compilation of ghost moments, of unexplained moments, where half of it are just videos of people moving stuff with strings, and
yep. I absolutely enabled it because I was too polite. That's the most English thing ever. I was too polite to say I've never even seen a ghost. This is like, so I accidentally made a ghost up. So, out of politeness.
You know, that tour guide is going to tell people that, like...
Well, it was like a 50-50 chance, right? There's two skulls. And that's what psychic people...
You had no guarantee that the other one was Elizabeth.
No. I know, but I was just like... So it
wasn't a 50-50 shot. You got lucky. You got lucky that one of them was a woman.
No, he did say they were both women, though.
Okay.
He did say they were both women, so that just set me up even more. And I was just like, yeah.
I know that that's how cold reading works, and I think we've talked about cold reading on the show.
Yeah.
But it's like.
I just felt so bad. This girl was just looking up at me, like just with childlike wonder, and I was like, I cannot basically tell this kid that Santa Claus doesn't exist. Like I can't.
Yeah, but you could just claim you're not getting it.
No, I was put on the spot.
You got me so exasperated, darling. I hiccuped. You could be like, oh, I'm not really getting anything. What is, no, and like,
I could have.
Like, you could have just pretended to not be a medium, which you're not. You could have
I
just
say
like
with a massive question mark, like Mary vibes.
you didn't have to say anything. You could have said, "Wow, this is interesting."
Yeah, but I was put on the spot, and I'm a Leo rising, so I need to perform, darling. Even though that's clearly bullshit because astrology. I'm just like, I blame that, but no, I did drama and history as a
Well,
degree.
you know,
I
it's
was put
I
on
don't.
the spot. I needed to perform.
I've said it many times on this show that I don't believe in astrology, but of course I don't. I'm a triple Virgo.
Yep. So yeah, I have. Yep. I'm sorry.
That joke kills in witchcraft and astrology circles, and then you tell that to normal people, they're like, "I don't get what's a triple Virgo," and I'm like, "Okay, so you got besides your sun sign, you've got your rising and your moon sign, and so it means I was born at sunrise on a new moon. That's just all I got to think about. Okay, man, just they all line up because of that.
Yeah.
It's
So
God, you are gonna be. You are someone's ghost story that they tell at parties now, because you were too embarrassed to just admit that you didn't get anything. Which also, all he would have done was maybe hand it to somebody else.
Nope. Honestly, look, just the look my husband gave me from afar was exactly the same look as that you just gave me. Like, why are you feeding into this? You hate misinformation.
You are the misinformation.
Like,
Lozzie!
I'm not angry with myself. I'm just slightly amused / disappointed. So I'm really sorry if that poor lass recognizes me now. I'm sorry. You had to find out someday.
Okay, look, if based off of your description, if she's the kind of she hasn't made it this far into this podcast.
No, that's very true. That's very true.
She gave up around episode 4.
Oh man. Oh yeah. No. So yeah, that's the time that I accidentally said that I was picking. Oh. But again, I just get this look from my husband, like, of course you've ended up in this situation. Like, bless him. Like, he just. Again, somebody gave me a chance to perform. Like, I can't.
And so let that be a lesson to you. If you're on a ghost tour and someone seems to have an experience, well, actually, that's like a really good point that I don't think we've made before. So you go on these ghost tour things, people feel pressured to have experiences, and they will sometimes pretend to have experiences that did not happen, because there's a lot of pressure for it to be real. So, like, that's why I don't like ghost tour. Like, I like ghost tours if it's a ghost tour just to find out stories, and but like when they and everybody the idea that you're gonna have an experience while you do it, take that the fuck out of it, because there's this pressure and stuff. Like in my here I lived in a haunted house for 3 years, right? 3 years, and 2 of the people who lived in that house never really saw the ghost, right? Because they were oblivious to it. That's the thing. Like, you're being oblivious. Yeah, no, actually, that's a really good defense. Is not really believing that not believing that a ghost is there, not caring that a ghost is there, not noticing. But also, when you do experience that stuff, like you take a look at my high school theater. I had a major experience in the 4 years that I spent multiple hours a day in that theater. There are many people who had no experiences in that theater, who walked in and out. It's ghosts, what we describe as ghosts, by the way, and I said this earlier kind of briefly, that I go from the idea that there are supernatural, there's some sort of phenomenon that occurs that I do not have an explanation for, that cannot be explained through the what we already know. I believe that there is an intelligence, maybe, but I have no evidence that it is the spirits of formerly alive human beings. And well, first off, that doesn't make sense to me, that humans would have ghosts and nothing else, right? But even so, either it's everything or nothing. And if I don't even, and it could be a third, its own thing, right? Some form of life, energy, or phenomena that we are not defining, that we don't have a definition for yet. But I only saw it like, and I was there for a couple of years before I saw anything. And while I have other friends who had their own experiences, and like we went for years without seeing anything. And there's a couple of stuff that like only, like there are a couple of things that happened that like I'm sure it's real because I had like joint experiences where multiple people witnessed the same thing together, and we all like independently can describe those events the same. So, but again, for years, and like I know people who, my sister went through that same theater program without seeing a single thing. Like I have a lot of friends who went through that entire like 4 years of school without seeing a single thing, and we are talking like, besides the fact that every school every school assembly happens in that thing because it's the only venue in the entire, it's one of two venues in the entire building, that and the gym, that can fit the like 1,200 students who go to that high school. At the time, I think they've redistricted, so it's fewer students there and more at the other high school in town there. But at the time, like we're talking thousands of people went through this space without, and only like handful saw it. And I believe that is real, but they're not going to perform for you, right? It's an occasional phenomena that you might see one time over the course of years of spending a lot of time in there. So that's why but there's this pressure, like when you go on these tours to see something that you will see. No, you're not going to see shit. It's go in expecting to see nothing, because if you've ever been in real haunted situations and like things where like there are lots of us who have stories about those things, we are talking about like one or two events that happened over, like they're occasionally like the things like the snoring in the room was happening like every night for a while. Yeah. Like that was a specific thing, but more often than not, a haunting is something that only appears every once in a while. And so most people, statistically, the odds are they're not going to witness it. And so like, if we go from the supposition, so like that's why like I don't believe so many, like 90% of ghost hunters, because well, first off, they're showing me fucking orbs, but I can get you orb photos in any dusty room.
And sounds. They say like sounds off camera, and they're like, bang, what was that noise? And it's like, it could be another person who's planted there on purpose to make that sound.
Or it could be an old building where the vibrations in the floor finally caused something to knock over. So what you can't see on camera, well, you can kind of maybe tell a little bit, but what you mostly can't see on camera is what my office looks like. You see, this angle is picked deliberately. If I look past the camera, there is a large stack of empty boxes I need to break down and throw out that I've been too lazy to do it. All right? There's a lot. That pile is 6 feet tall. And don't even get me started about what's happening in that direction. Occasionally, I have stacked things poorly, but I haven't touched that stack for a couple of days. But vibrations in the floor slowly shake a box loose, and it falls. And like we will be lying in bed, and there will just be a crash from my office.
Yep.
And I will have to get up and see what fell over. That happens in old buildings.
Yep.
And you're walking in it because you're the ghost hunter. Sometimes shit happens. Oh, my favorite is when people are cryptid hunting and they're out in the woods with like, God, I can't remember. It was that Destination Truth, I think, was an episode of that. And they were out like in like the woods in like Russia or something ridiculous, like looking for like, it was some area where they're like looking for like this supposed like monster or whatever. And like they get like heat signatures at the border. And I'm like, there are large cats in that area of the world. You're in the wilderness. No, it wasn't Russia. It was somewhere else. It was somewhere with tigers. That I remember. It was somewhere with tigers. They were looking up. It was like, it's fucking tigers. I think there are tigers in Russia. I don't remember.
Fucking tigers.
My degree was in politics, not biology. You want to know biology? I'll go, well, no, my wife studied viruses. I can call somebody. The whole like thing is like, there are literal tigers where you are. Like, guys, yeah, you're in danger. It's a tiger. Like, they would go like any large heat signature. I'm like, there's so many things. Like, what I hate are the ones who have like those heat signature cameras. They'll do like the stick figure of a skeleton and stuff like that. I'm like, computer's pattern matching. It's looking for anything, and that algorithm is not perfect. It will take random noise and give you a stick figure. That's not a ghost.
But also, skeletons don't have heat.
Well, no. So the idea is that,
Or
like, the way that that's supposed to work is that a people using those heat signature, like using the heat cameras to try to
Right.
detect, energy and shit like that. There are some of them that are equipped to try to identify human figures, right? And so it will
Right.
put a like wireframe of like a like just like of whatever to try to identify a person. And that's useful for like security cameras and things like that. Ghost hunters have repurposed this, and they try to look for like, but it will randomly identify noise, right? Because like you're supposed to use that in conjunction with like, oh, and the heat's within the range of a person's body temperature, but they just use the little stick, so the stick figure thing will pop up, and like you'll be like, oh, there's like, is there something in the closet? Like, no, it's random noise. And it's like, if you look at how fluctuating that video is, and that the computer is then taking that and trying to find patterns in it, it's random noise. It's not a person or a ghost or anything. You're looking at a digital fragment, because ghost hunters don't know how their equipment works.
Sorry, I just realized I made a very visual, exasperated sound to remember.
And
this
most
is not
people,
just video.
99.9% of the audience is going to be listening to this, not watching it.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna put a voice to that exasperation there. Yeah,
it's
just man.
It is frustrating, and like I feel like this, like this whole episode we've been talking very negatively about ghosts. But again, I have seen ghosts. I have lived with a ghost. I believe in ghosts. I just believe. Also, we have to look for every rational explanation of what it could fucking be before we assume spooky. Like, when I talk about the thing I saw in the theater, I saw a blue ball of light appear in the middle of the room, dart around, and then fly into the wall. Like, in a room with effectively, like, the windows are painted so they're opaque when they're closed. The windows were closed. The light was off. There was nothing. Like, I saw that. It's like I heard snoring in my room. I saw my hat slide off the counter. Like, these are what I classify as ghost experiences. I had the voice whisper in my ear, like someone was 2 inches from my ear when I was... So there was this park in Eau Claire called Owen Park. I've told the story before, but it's been a while. We used to do dumb stuff like hang out in parks at like 4 a.m. When we were like... This is, again, dumb stuff I did when I was 20. There's this one park called Owen Park in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, that I am convinced is haunted. But I was walking at the edge of the park on the sidewalk along the edge, and I was just getting... Because it's like this treed area. It's not woods, but it's a treed area of a park near the band shell. Like, I was just like getting a weird... I had already gotten weird vibes and had some weird kind of like feelings at this park, but it had always just been stuff that could be explained as my own like brain. So I'm walking down the street, and so it's a street to my left and like a whole neighborhood, but it's like 4 a.m, it's dark, and I'm walking, and I just like I'm getting really bad vibes from the woods, and I'm going to a place that's past them, right? And so like I'm not going into them, and I'm specifically, there are 2 ways to get to the place I'm going. One is to go through the park through a path through those woods, and the other is to take the sidewalk. I took the sidewalk because I had gotten bad vibes. And I just said quietly out loud, I'm going as fast as I can, because I was walking very quickly, and I just heard a voice in, like, it felt like someone was whispering right next to my left ear. Faster.
No.
And I broke into a sprint.
I was about to say, I would have been like, I am not built for running. I am not a running person. I think about it and I go, that's effort. But no, I would have, I would not have, I would have moved.
Right, but it was like, it was promptly. A clear, audible voice. I was fully awake. It was only in one ear, not both. It was in deep proximity. It wasn't like an echoing sound. It felt like someone whispering straight into my ear. And So yeah, like things like that, like that.
Yep.
That's what I classify. Like, and so like, but like, so that's why like that's like my criteria. Like, but so there's lots of stuff that I've experienced, of noises, of like, of lights, of things like that, that I, even if I like couldn't be 100% sure that it was a real life phenomenon, I dismiss as not a real experience because I could find an explanation.
Yeah.
It's only the stuff that I have no explanation for that then becomes like, nope, that was that one. Like, there was one time I was walking home at night and I thought I saw what looked like a little boy standing at the end of the street alone in the middle of the night, and it was really creepy. And then as I got closer, I realized it was a balloon tied to a fire hydrant. It was, not a ghost.
No.
Not a ghost.
Not a ghost. You need that on a t-shirt. Not a ghost.
Yeah.
There we go.
That one was not a ghost. That was me. That was my eyes playing tricks on me at night at a distance. Right? Like, but if I had like turned and run, I mean, it's like there's stuff that is just stuff. Like, shit happens in the world, and not all of it is ghosts. But if you go in, like, that's the whole thing, is like, you are always like, when a lot of people go into those ghost stories, like, they want to see stuff, they're primed to see stuff, they like have a desire, and you're gonna cast anything you see as that. And that's how we get shit like orbs. Everyone take out your cameras, take a photo here. And like, people say they see orbs here and there's a cold spot. I'm like, there's a draft blowing up dust and you're taking photos of the dust.
Maybe all ghost hunters should go on a photography course.
But also like a plumbing course, a construction, like, you should know what old houses are like. There was that one, what was that one ghost show, like, that had, like, the home improvement guy go through and, like, be, like, there was this one, it was short-lived, where, like, they would, like, literally have, like, a ghost hunter go through, and they'd have, like, a home reno guy go through, and be like, no, there's a contractor, like, contractor goes through and be like, nope, see here, this is bad wiring here, and this is going to cause the lights to flicker. Or like, it's, God, I'm waiting for all the, now that, so when LED lights start failing, they'll start flickering for a while.
Yep.
And so I'm waiting for all of those ghost stories to start popping up now that everyone's switched over their light bulbs. I do want to one day manufacture a haunting on someone, fill their house with smart, like, break in and replace all their bulbs with smart bulbs that I have the Wi-Fi controls to. And so one day, like, just all the red lights turn red on them.
So we have smart bulbs all around, and then suddenly, like, all of a sudden, like, you'll walk through somewhere and the lights will just suddenly dim. And then I've just been like, oh, what's there? Yay, a ghost! I'm so excited. Finally, there's going to be one there. And then that's when I realized that I have my home controls on my phone set to say gradual light at a certain time of day, and maybe I'm on annual leave and I haven't turned that off. I get
all my lights in my apartment have a timer to turn themselves off at 12:30 a.m. whether I remember to or not, because sometimes it is a thing that's like, oh shit, I got to go to bed, the apartment went to sleep. Because like, I'll be sitting up,
I need that physical reminder.
I'll be sitting up on Tumblr and like, but it'll happen like my wife and I are watching movies like on a Saturday night though, like, and so like we'll sometimes stay up to like 2 a.m. watching movies. It's a normal human thing to do on a Saturday night for a couple. And like, so it's like all the lights will go off and I was like, God damn it. And they'll be like, Alexa, turn on the lights. Sorry, I hope you're not listening to that without headphones. Hey
Google, turn on all the lights.
No, stop it.
Actually, that's hilarious because my Google has just turned on all the lights in my house.
You just did it to
who
yourself.
Sucks to be me. I just trolled myself.
I want to point out that I have a door closed between me and my Alexa. What's the weather?
Nope. At least I didn't say, hey, turn all the lights off, because that would have.
That's why I went with on. But my Echo is in a different room than my studio, that it can hear me when my door is open. So like if I'm just doing stuff around the place, but when I'm recording, it is closed, and so it cannot hear me.
The worst thing we had is because we had Alexa before we had I have to just be really careful because I'm going to set something.
You can say Google though. You just can't say the word before.
Oh yeah,
it.
Yeah, that's true. And we had it set to computer because we're really, we're really.
I thought
cool.
about that for about 5 minutes, and then I really thought about the number of times I say computer in the day.
Yep.
That.
So we did that. We were watching Star Trek
because
and it responded to Jean-Luc Picard saying computer.
Because they have jokes where you can go like command phrase T Earl Grey hot, and it'll tell you the replicators are offline. You can tell it to fire phasers. You can tell it to shield up and so no, you can't watch Star. It's you can tell it red alert.
Yep.
It's
absolutely.
And it'll do the
stuff. Me up.
Which when it's the default key phrase, that's why it's. I will say it used to go off occasionally when we were watching Schitt's Creek because Alexis is a close enough name.
Yep.
I do feel bad because there are human people named that.
Yes. Yep.
I guess those people would change it to Echo because you can have it set to Echo also.
Yep.
I think that that's the one thing that these boxes should allow us to set a custom wake word.
Yep.
So I can be like, "Hey, fuckface, what's the weather?"
I was about to say, "What up, bitch?" That's what I'd end up saying. "Oi, bitch, turn on the lights," or something like that. But or something.
I do have it set though, so I have a shortcut in my house to turn the lights on, which is just lights. So if I had it at computer, I could be like computer lights. And that would be but I can't do that because again, I watch Star Trek and suddenly my lights would come on if I had them dimmed or something like that or off. It's I want to haunt someone's house though. I want to randomly have turn things on and off. I want to just mess with them. But I'm not going to do that because I can't. I did have a smart bulb that kept turning itself off. It turned out it was just broken.
Yeah.
Oh god, it was so broken it had snapped, the plastic part had popped, a crack had cracked in half. One day I'm sitting home, I heard a crack. I'm like, what is that? And I can't figure out anything wrong in the kitchen, but nothing had it had overheated so much that it cracked because heat's what kills LED bulbs. The LEDs technically don't break, but the bulb enclosures overheat the control boards. So that's just a fun thing for you to learn. All right, we kind of talked about ghosts here.
Yes. There was some spooky stuff thrown
in the hour and 40 minutes that this episode is going to end up being, or more than that because I got to do intros and outros, and I'm not doing the Patreon read until I'm on my own. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you want to see Lozzie on the show more often, please let me know. But it'll probably end up like this. Because this is what we're like. I just thought it would be fun because here's the thing: it's we've been so serious the last few months, and even though it was a looser episode in September, it was still me talking at people for 30 minutes in my more deliberate tone, because that's what you have to do. Because I've got 3 tones of voice on this show. I've got exasperated. I've got the one in this episode, which is kind of my more lighthearted one. And then I've got the Trae's being very serious and inspirational right now. Because isn't that what we're all trying to do in the end? Isn't that what witchcraft is? You gotta do a little pause. I don't know why I'm like this. It's just a thing that I start doing with my, and the problem is that I'm aware enough of what I have to listen. Every episode I do, I've got to listen to 5 times because I do the edits. And so there is a point because we've been doing the show for 6 years now. So there is a point that I just am so aware of what I sound like. Most people don't know what their own voice sounds like and aren't aware. I am hyper aware of what my voice sounds like now. It has now gotten to the point where it's not weird to hear it anymore, but I also am now fully aware of every stupid vocal tick I do, because between this show and Stormwood and Associates, I hear my own voice so fucking much that
Wait. Well, it's a key indicator, because again, I normally listen to BS3 Witchcraft when I'm driving, so I'll be driving and then the music will come in and Trae, super serial voice, will come in, and I'm like, oh shit, he's just about to lay something down. Get ready for the tea.
Well, there's also like there's a difference, like
driving.
There's a difference between my like, and John Roberts was born in 1851. Now, he wasn't a smart man, but he did think that he could light things on fire with his mind, which he told a whole bunch of other people. That's just me making up a story. Please don't look up. I don't know why I picked the name of the Chief Supreme Court Justice of the United States.
Now you are the one who is putting out misinformation ghost stories. Yes, it's not
I'm sure
just
that
me.
there's a guy named John Roberts who was born in 1871.
Oh, 100%.
100%. Whether or not he thought he could light things on fire with his mind. But like, so there's that serious tone. And then there's, then there's the inspirational serious tone that just comes in when I'm like, in the end, when we're all trying to look at a tree, only you can really perceive it the way that you're seeing it right now. And only you are having that experience. And in the end, isn't that what's really important for what we're doing here? Like, because there's that serious voice, which is very different than like which is also because like the first one can go into like getting mad at the subject matter.
Yep.
Which is, sometimes, and we'll go with our fake John Roberts here, which of course led John Roberts to found the John Roberts School of Pyromancy, which he took it very seriously and sold his course to people, which led them not to get medical. Can you not see the problem with people not getting, medical treatment for their cancer because they thought they could light things on fire with their mind? There's...
Yep.
Like, because one serious voice goes into, like, the ramp up to anger and then, like, come back down and, like, and then the versus the other serious voice of, like, witchcraft is all around us right now. There's witchcraft in your socks, and you just like I wasn't quite doing the voice. And in the end, aren't we all wearing socks right now? Actually, I'm betting there are people listening to this who are definitely not wearing socks.
I'm wearing my best socks, but I definitely can't get my legs up that high, so I'm not going to bother.
I'm wearing 2 pair, baby.
Oh, I got my thick wool socks along with my slippers with memory foam insoles.
I have peripheral neuropathy and blood flow problems to my feet, so I have to keep them warm. I wear 2 socks in the summer.
2-sock tray.
Yeah. But
there we go.
I mean, most people are wearing 2 socks. It's weird if you're only wearing 1 sock.
Oh, man.
But I'm wearing 2 socks on each feet. That's what I was talking about. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, this has been an interesting episode.
It's been a delight. I've loved it.
I hope that this was entertaining to you guys. I hope you enjoyed this, because this is what you're getting. This is what happens in October.
This is what happens. Yep.
I hope you guys
season.
hope you guys all have a wonderful Samhain, Halloween, any other way that you celebrate the end of October. And Lozzie, is there anything you want to plug here at the end? That TikTok you never use anymore?
So you can find me on Threads and other social media platforms at Bihexual History is my current username. I am on TikTok. Yeah, that's right. I made a history and witchcraft and bisexuality joke because I'm cool. You can find me there.
Cool.
And mostly cool.
There are air quotes for audio listeners.
Oh yeah, sorry, air quotes. I think that it was implied.
Inverted commas.
Yes, darling. Of course, it's inverted commas. Air quotes, darling. Yep. And on the forums occasionally, because I'm rubbish at checking the forums. Naughty Lozzie, and on
Everybody
the Discord.
Everybody should get on those fucking forums. Sorry, it's because we are decentralize the internet.
Whoop. I also hang out on the Discord.
Yeah, which is not decentralized, but we still have it because people are talking there, and Thank you. And also, occasionally you can be found on random episodes of Hex Positive.
Yes.
Jumping in there, which is Bree's wonderful show. And Bree had a wonderful guest this month, though, because it was me. And Find that show at nerdandtie.com/hex. And thank you so much for being here. And now we're going to go to Trae in a few weeks recording the outro. So there we go. Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. I want to thank just Lozzie for having, spent the time to, do whatever we just did there. Please remember, this show is brought to you by my lovely Patreon patrons. And I'd like to thank people at the shout-out tier of Lindsay Dosey, Bruce Norville, Courtney, Claire Dennis, Caleb Rakowski, Pamela Stariak. And remember, you get episodes like this a whole week earlier if you subscribe to a paid version of the Patreon. There is a free tier on the Patreon, which is a great way to keep up with news about the show and other things about me. But there's the paid version, gets episodes like this a whole week early, and there is going to be an exclusive blooper, sort of, that's only going to be available for paid Patreon members. Also, I do want to remind you guys that the third book in the Mia Graves series, my novel series, Shadowcasting, is coming out on December 15th. And you can pre-order this book right now in both ebook and in paperback. And I will remind you guys that the ebooks and paperbacks of the first two books, The Witch and the Rose and Bloody Damn Right, are available on Amazon, every major bookstore if you order it by the ISBN. And also there are DRM-free ebooks available of those two books in my Patreon store. And I will say people at the shout-out tier on the Patreon also get access to those books as included with their membership. So do what you want to do. Buy my books if you like. I think they're fun. They are contemporary fantasy, queer contemporary fantasy novels. That they're lighthearted fun. Think like the tone of Buffy, only if it was like way less problematic. Anyways, if you want to support the show and support me, and you don't feel like spending any money, that's fine. You can always follow me on social media. I still technically have a Twitter, TREGORN. I'm on Threads. TREGORN. I am trying to get my Instagram doing something, maybe, I don't know, TREGORN. But the ones I'm most commonly using are Tumblr, which is my big one, TREGORN.tumblr.com, and of course TikTok, where you can find me at TREGORN for like my witchcraft content and book content, or TRAEDORN for just random hot takes I have that I don't want to burden my regular followers with. Also, technically there is a Facebook page you can follow the show at facebook.com/bsfreewitchcraft. Do not try to find my personal Facebook page. I will get annoyed. That's where I talk to my mom. But BS Free Witchcraft, facebook.com/BS is a great place to follow the show. Remember, you can join our forums at nerdandtie.social or find an invite to our Discord at nerdandtie.com/Discord. And with that, Magicians, I will talk to you in November, where I will probably actually do something more serious, but also not something this close to 2 hours in length. See you guys later. Dirt in our fingernails, brick in our hands. Almost forgot to say that part.